First, ignore the tape on my nose for today, but UFC 321 is coming up next week, and today, guys, I have the complete breakdown for the entire full card, guys, with timestamps if you'd like to skip to any part of the video. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with my YouTube channel, so if you're new to the channel, we take every single fight. We dive as deep into these fights as we can possibly get. I yap about the fights. This is a very, very long-form video. We have odds because depending on when you're watching this video, I'm recording this video very early. We have odds for the vast majority of the fights. I believe there's only 2, maybe 3 fights on the card that do not have odds right now. But regardless, we're going to be talking about all of them with timestamps. Again, if you'd like to skip to any part of the video, I appreciate your time being here. Let's get started with the early prelim opener. And guys, for the early prelim opener over here, we have a very newly added fight. That's going to be Valter Walker taking on Louie Sutherland. So both guys recently had fights canceled, and I think this is actually a much better and much more fun matchup to watch for both of those guys. We'll break down both fighters, and I want to start with Valter Walker over here, okay? Valter Walker is a strong heavyweight with decent wrestling and really good BJJ, particularly leg locks and BJJ. But unfortunately, what we've been talking about with Valter Walker, we still have some questions because he showed us a little while ago that he has less than a round's worth of cardio. Now, we don't know if he's changed his approach. We don't know if he's gotten better because he's been showing up to fights in much better shape, but he's been finishing fights also on the other side of the coin, like, very quickly. And we just spoke, like I said, about Valter Walker on one of the previous cards where his fight did end up getting canceled. He did show up at the weigh-ins looking well and looking in shape again. If I had to assume, I think that he did fix that cardio issue that he had, but of course we can't say for sure until we actually see it, put to the test again. But literally, just as we spoke about again, he's on a 3-fight win streak right now. He submitted Junior Tafa, Dontel Mays, and unfortunately, those 2 opponents mean nothing, but he had a very nice win last time out against Kennedy Nzechukwu, getting heel hook wins in all 3 of those bouts. He's a heavyweight that can actually come in and actually grapple and actually has a BJJ threat, and that's a scary guy for this division. And he is not even in his prime yet. He's huge, he has a scary skill set, and he's looking to bounce back and get another win here to continue the momentum. And I'm honestly feeling a little bit better about him than even just I was when we were just previously breaking down his previous fight, because I liked what I saw at the weigh-ins. The guy seems incredibly motivated. He was pissed that he didn't get to fight, and he backed up all of that talk by taking this fight, which is arguably against a tougher opponent, and he still showed up again in weigh-ins looking in shape. Valter Walker, I'm feeling good about for the heavyweight division, man. But let's talk about his opponent in a little bit of the opposite feeling, okay? Louie Sutherland. He is a really big heavyweight where historically I would have sat here and I would have said to you that the guy's got a ton of muscle mass, unlike you see in the UFC nowadays, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second, okay? But he's a guy who just wants to come forward and literally just walk forward, finish his opponents. He has big shots, he is fairly well-rounded, and although that well-roundedness is proven against unproven talent, he more so kind of like wills his way into positions that he wants to get instead of using actual technique, which is fun to see sometimes. Sometimes he comes out, he shows decent technique out there, but he mostly kind of just like, the game plan is to drive your whole body and hit you or take you down. And it's been pretty effective so far in his career. It's just strange watching him fight because he'll throw a wild combination of hooks just to hurt you, and then he'll have like a really solid leg kick, a really nice head kick might get thrown up too out of nowhere, and like what else? Like another thing that he does very well is that he will finish you if you're under him. You do not want to be going up against this guy's ground and pound because the guy's huge and he will start throwing vicious elbows to damage and finish you. But we also need to talk about this guy's shape, okay? Like I said, historically, the guy, he showed up, he's massive. Look at the Tapology picture. Then we saw him show up at his UFC weigh-in for his canceled bout. He is off the cycle big time, guys, okay? He was almost looking like a regular UFC heavyweight out there. So keep that in mind if you're coming into this and you're a betting man. He did not look like the guy prior to entering the UFC at all. And I expect him to look like that again when showing up for this bout because, like, that wasn't even that long ago. But something else that we did spoke about was the quality of opponents that Louie Sutherland has faced. There isn't really anything to note there, but that also doesn't mean much if you're fighting in the UFC heavyweight division. The talent level in the UFC heavyweight division is, for the most part, pitiful, so I think that he'll fit in nicely. The guy's still in his prime, he's getting in at a good time, and he will have a lot to prove to us against a pretty tough opponent in Valter Walker over here. So, with this fight, it's a little bit more difficult, I believe, And I've always been a little bit hesitant to bet. I liked Valter Walker specifically against his matchup with Muhammad Usman, but now he's going to have a really big guy. How's he going to show up? Is he like Louie Sutherland is going to be interesting to watch fight because I doubt he's going to look like his previous fights. But I have to side with the momentum and the motivation that Valter Walker's been on. It's very unique to have an actual, not only a BJJ skill set, but a dangerous BJJ skill set in Valter Walker. I think that he has all the potential in the world. I just need to see that cardio issue fixed for him inside the octagon. I believe he's on track to do that, and I'm going to pick Valter Walker to get the job done in this bout. Let's see, and I was about to say, let's see what the odds are, but this is a brand new fight. We don't have odds yet. I would imagine Valter Walker is a small favorite. I would imagine, but I hope he gets the job done. I'm cheering for him, and I expect him to win this fight. All right, guys, let's get into the next fight, and this card is full of bangers, guys. I am so excited for this fight between both Jose Delgado and Nathaniel Wood. Excellent, excellent matchmaking by the UFC. Let's start by breaking down Jose Delgado over here. And Jose Delgado, he is a well-rounded fighter with pretty good accuracy when he's on the feet, and he has good defense to back up that offense that he brings into the cage. He has nice submissions in his back pocket as well on top of all of that. And now, Jose Delgado is someone that I've been watching for a little while now, and I think that I underrated him, okay? Prior to the LFA, there was really nothing special about him, and he has gotten some nice wins, okay? Then LFA, Contender Series, and entering the UFC, he came in and he knocked out Connor Matthews out right away. He looked good, but it was never really anything that kind of just like wowed me in there, okay? Until his last fight. And he took on Haider Emil in his last fight, who Haider Emil himself was on a roll, and these two went in right away, and Jose found a knee KO in about 30 seconds. And I think after that, I'm ready to sit down, I'm ready to say that I was underrating this fighter. I'm not saying that I see a champion or anything along those lines. I flat out think that I was just underrating him. And I'm really excited to see what he does next in this fight against Nathaniel Wood here, because this is a big step up in competition in my opinion. Jose Delgado is about to enter his prime. He'll have a nice reach advantage in this fight, and he is on a roll in the UFC now. Like I've been talking about, man, the matchmaking by the UFC lately has been top tier, and now let's break down Nathaniel Wood along with Jose Delgado over here, okay? And Nathaniel Wood's simple to break down. He's a very technical, and he is a very well-rounded fighter. The guy can do it all, including doing things like fighting in a firefight. And he himself has also been on a roll in the UFC, but compared to Jose, his quality of opponents has been much better. And he's been performing well against those guys that he's been taking on. He's been gaining a lot of experience, and he's been looking really good in the octagon, even in his recent loss over here, which was his only recent defeat, in recent time. And that was to Muhammad Naimov, who is also a great fighter. That fight even could have gone either way, and he was getting cheated in that bout like big time. You know, Muhammad Naimov likes to cheat. Most recently, though, he's coming off of a great fight with Morgan Charrier, who I also think is very underrated. And Nathaniel came in, and he flat out outworked him. This is another really good match by the UFC, because I also think that Nathaniel is an underrated fighter, like I was just talking about with Jose Delgado. And I honestly hope that he gets the job done here, because he has been putting in a lot of work over the years, and it's gone relatively unnoticed, okay? So I have thinking like pretty simply when I'm taking a look at these two guys and picking who to win. I see two guys that are on a roll, but I see one guy who has performed better against better talent. He's had a lot of experience against very, very good and very underrated talent. He's very well-rounded. I'm picking Nathaniel Wood. I like Nathaniel Wood a lot in this matchup, and I think that he has that ground option for Jose Delgado. And it's not like to say that Jose Delgado has a ground game hole in his game or anything, but Wood has those options. He'll have that pressure. And I'd be surprised if Jose Delgado ended up knocking him out. But Jose Delgado, he's a very good fighter. I just think this is a little bit of a step up too soon, and Nathaniel Wood is a very underrated fighter. So Nathaniel Wood, he's going to be my pick. Like I said, I hope he gets the job done because he's a very, very underrated fighter. Nathaniel Wood's sitting at the underdog right now, though, which is a little bit surprising to me. Plus 126 right now. Huh. Interesting. I wouldn't have expected that. That's actually something that I would consider betting on. It seems like a steal for those odds, to be honest with you. Now, guys, the great fights continue over here because now we have Mateusz Rebecki taking on Ludovic Klein. Another sleeper, another banger of a matchup. Let's talk about these two, okay? We'll start with Mateusz Rebecki. Mateusz Rebecki is a grappler who will dive at you from anywhere in the octagon. He really does a good job pushing the pace and will always be coming forward. He has really good cardio, he has insane heart, and there is an issue now with Mateusz Rebecki in that he now has scar tissue from the Ferreira fight, and that can be a major problem if it happens to open up into a fight. The guy's quite the bleeder. Now, he's 20-3 in MMA now, losing 2 of his last 3 fights, but guys, man, this is nothing to take away from him. Even in his losses, this dude is bringing it every time that we see him. And I will say, when it comes to excitement level, Mateusz Rebecki is not talked enough about. He took on Diego Ferreira. He had a good first little bit and then got taken over in a very, very fun fight. Got a bit unlucky because both of his eyes ended up getting swollen shut in that fight. Then he had one of the best wars that I've ever seen and people still don't talk about against Mikdebek Orobai. Showed all of the heart in the world and all aspects and technical of MMA. Then, most recently, he took on Chris Duncan in one of the most brutal technical wars that I've ever seen in my life. He didn't, unfortunately, get the job done, but he still, in that fight, looked amazing, man. And it was just one of those fights where it was a shame that somebody had to lose. The fight, like, it was still great. It was a great performance. So, I don't care that he's been win one, lose one recently. The guy is a phenomenal martial artist, and the guy is an absolute warrior. The only issue is that he's 33 years old now, and he is going to be exiting his prime. He in his fights has been taking a ton of damage. One day, which is hopefully not soon, but, I mean, it's possible that damage is going to end up catching up to him. But we haven't seen it yet. Okay, so I'm not going to break his fight down like he's about to, like, fall over, you know, taking CTE damage like crazy or anything like that. I'm just saying that the time's going to come where that chin can't take a shot, or one day he's going to show up, he's going to be looking a little sluggish. Hopefully, hoping, man, that's later than sooner, but I will absolutely be enjoying and I will absolutely be cheering for Rebecki while we have him in this prime. This dude is an absolute treat to watch. I usually spell that word. My dog's right next to me. But let's talk about Ludovic Klein, okay? Ludovic Klein, he is a versatile striker with strong head kicks and combinations in general. He's very good at striking. He will strike you everywhere in the body, and he does a good job doing so. He's also shown to have good takedown defense for the most part as well. And his takedowns, and with his own takedowns, he has decent ground and pound. After being on a roll in the UFC against really good, really quality opponents into the UFC, he finally, unfortunately, had his win streak snapped against Mateusz Gamrot recently, where he ended up finding himself just getting smothered the entire fight. Prior to that fight, though, for the most part, it was some really solid wins. The guy has consistently showed a really nice skill set in MMA. He's only 30 years old, He's in his prime, and he still has a ton of opportunity to improve and bounce back with a win over here. And this is, again, excellent matchmaking by the UFC. I am very excited to watch this fight. This is one of those where I could see going either way, so what I'm about to say, it is a low-confidence pick, but I'm going to pick Mateusz Rebecki to get the job done in this bout. Ludovic Klein is a great fighter. I could see a path to victory for him, but the way that Rebecki has just been, not dog-walking isn't the right word because he hasn't been doing that, but the wars and the hell that he has been making people go through in order to beat him, I would imagine that he's going to get the one-up on Ludovic Klein. He's going to bring the pressure, he's going to impose his game plan, and he might even be able to replicate what Gamrot did. I'm going to go with Mateusz Rebecki in this bout. Let's see what the odds are over on Odds Jam over here. I picked another underdog. Mateusz Rebecki sitting at the average odds of plus 118. To be honest with you, I don't hate that. I could see a lot of people being all over Ludovic Klein, but I like Rebecki, man. I think that he's going to get the job done, but again, low confidence pick on that one. Let's continue on up the card, though, guys, to a name that Tapology always has to shorten. They call him A. Al-Selwady, but it's Abdul Kareem Al-Selwady taking on Matheus Camilo. This is another... I'm sorry to say it, guys. I'm excited for just about every single fight of this card. It's another really, really good match by the UFC. We'll start with Abdul Kareem Al-Selwady, who is a very fast, nice technical striker who excels when he's moving forward. He also does a good job using feints, and he mixes in takedowns very well, but he is primarily a striker. The guy's also super tough. He has a heart if things get tough, but he can be chinned. That's possible, okay? Now, he's finally returning into the octagon after 2 years, and after losing his first fight in the UFC to Loic Razdabov, in that fight, he showed insane toughness, insane technique, and he was actually dominating the first little bit, like the first round of that fight. He just ended up getting chinned, like I mentioned, he has an issue with, and he started having issues after that. Prior to that, he looked good in the Contender Series, and unfortunately, there's not much else to point out about his career, but I have no idea why he's been out for so long, but if you're a betting man, you might want to keep things in mind like ring rust, potential injuries, surgeries, things like that. But if Abdul Kareem Al-Selwady ends up showing up healthy, he's a pretty good prospect. He's still in his prime, he's got lots of time, and he has lots of room in this sport for growth. I am excited to see what he can do in the octagon because we haven't seen him in a little while, and I'm excited. And he's taking on a very tough opponent over here in Matheus Camilo. And Matheus Camilo is a well-rounded fighter. He's one of those guys that's pretty comfortable everywhere. He particularly has some pretty good leg kicks. The issue with him is that he can be slow in the cage, and he is open for big shots, so he's not perfect. He is also actually coming off of his first UFC debut loss. And again, guys, this is very good matchmaking by the UFC. Two really good prospects with a lot to prove. Both ended up losing their UFC debut. He's still very young in his career, though. He's only being 24 years old, so hopefully he shows up, and there's a lot of room for improvement over here, okay? So this one's also a little bit tough, but I'm going to give like a 60-40 lean to Abdul Kareem Selwady in this bout. I think both guys are nice prospects, but I like the overall game that I've seen from Abdul a little bit more than I've liked against Mateusz, and he even was doing pretty well in his first fight over there, you know? I'm going to pick him to win. I think that he's going to be slightly better in all aspects of MMA. If he can keep things on the feet, he'll probably excel. I'm going to pick Abdul Kareem Selwady to get the job done in this bout. Let's take a look at what Odds Jim's saying over here. Okay, we picked a favorite. But Odds Jim pretty much has us as a pick 'em, and I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that. Not one to bet on, in my opinion. But again, I'm going to lean towards Abdul Kareem Selwady, kind of like a 60-40, like I said. Now, guys, let's move on up the card to a fight that I'm not exactly particularly too excited to watch, but it's not going to be horrible. We have Jacqueline Amaram returning to take on Mizuki Inu. Mizuki Inu is somebody, how long has it been since we've seen Mizuki Inu? 2 years ago, I was about to say. It's been I don't remember when the last time this girl fought was, but let's break them both down, okay? We'll start with Jacqueline Amaram. And Jacqueline, oh my god, I just remembered too. Yeah, Mizuki, I was going to talk about her inactivity, but Jacqueline Amaram is a grappler, really nice takedowns, and supposedly good submissions. I've always talked about how I believe her to be overrated. Her striking is just okay. She comes in with intent to knock you out, and for the division, she has some pretty good power. And from most bouts that we usually see her in, she seems to improve from fight to fight when she gets in here. Now, Jacqueline is 10-1 at this point in her career, and I've been watching her for a long time, even prior to the UFC. I always thought this girl was overrated, but she's putting together a nice win streak over here, okay? So at what point do I say that I'm wrong? Because here's the problem. Let's take a look at this win streak over here, okay? Ruiz was completely unimpressive and easy to beat. She submitted Corey McKenna, which says nothing. She should have been DQ'd against Vanessa Demopoulos, but on the other side of the coin, Vanessa Demopoulos herself is also a free win. And then she controlled Polyana Viana in a version of Polyana Viana that's checked out from the sport. I still think she's overrated. But again, at what point am I wrong here, okay? And we won't get any answers over here because she's fighting another one of those very, WMMA-ish fighters. The talent level's just not there. They're trying to promote her. But speaking of her next opponent, okay, Mizuki Inu is pretty simple to break down. She's decently well-rounded, but she's mostly just one of your typical WMMA fighters. There's really nothing to note about any of her fights. She's won fights, she's lost fights, she's 15-6. There's absolutely nothing special about what she does, and she's probably getting fed to the more promotable fighter over here. And I actually have a little bit of a rule when talking about these fights. Excuse me, wrong OBS setting over there. I have a rule that I've been implementing into, a little bit of a betting strategy. When it comes to WMMA, oftentimes the more marketable girl, I will say, is more likely to get the job done, and I don't think that's going to be the case here. They're really, really trying to promote Jacqueline Amaram, kind of like what they're doing with Luana Santos. They see some potential over there, and she's going to win. She's going to get a takedown. She's going to get a submission. That's how I feel this is going to go. I don't think that Mizuki Inu has anything for her. She's been completely unimpressive. So Jacqueline Amaram is going to be my pick. And unfortunately, we have no odds for this fight, but I would imagine she's a sizable favorite. Let's continue on, guys, up the card, though, to another very fun fight, and that's Ikram Aliskerov, in my opinion, getting his very first test against Jun Young Park. I'm excited to talk about this fight, okay? Let's talk about Ikram Aliskerov first. And Ikram Aliskerov, what did I just say? Ikram Aliskerov is a combat sambo world champion who Khabib Nurmagomedov himself deemed to be the future. He's a well-rounded fighter with great combat sambo. He does a good job keeping the fight where he wants the fight to be, and I personally still look at Ikram Aliskerov and think that he's still unproven against top talent, but he's been performing well in the octagon. The Robert Whittaker fight, I should mention, was top level, actually, but it could have just been a case where he ended up getting caught. Plus, there were some circumstances with that entire bout. I just didn't see enough to say that Whittaker, he passed or failed the Whittaker test, okay? Because I'm sorry, technically he did fail that, but you know what I mean, okay? Aside from that loss to Whittaker, he's 16-2 in MMA right now, and he's been very impressive in the octagon. He got some nice wins over guys like Phil Hawes, and he beat Warley Alves, and then his next win after that was against Andre Muniz, and unfortunately, these aren't exactly good wins despite him showing good technique in those fights. So Ikram Aliskerov, he definitely has potential, and this is a matchup that I've personally been waiting for. he has his first really, really hard fight against him, aside from that quick loss that he had to Robert Whittaker, but you understand what I was talking about with that, okay? It's good to see him back, though. He's got some real great guys backing him up. He's still in his prime, and he does have those Khabib Nurmagomedov words to live up to in the matchup. Is this guy really going to be the future? He's going to be exiting his prime soon, but we'll see, okay? But let's talk about Jung Young Park. I'm excited for this guy, okay? He is a controlling grappler with good striking and good cardio. His goal will be to get opponents on the ground and end up working for a submission. Doesn't always get the job done, but that's a game plan. He has magnificent heart. He'll fight through any adversity to throw his way, and he will make it hell for you to try to get any sort of advantageous position on him. He's willing to get a little bit tad dirty in his octagon at times, and he is hittable at times because of that. Other than that, he's super tough. He's a smothering guy in general, and you can never count him out of a fight. He has been more inactive, but it's good to see him back after getting a win just 3 months ago. And honestly, he looked good. That fight against Ismail Nurdiev, and after losing the first round and overcoming a little bit of adversity and cheating blows, I might add, he toughed it out. He put on a pace at the end and ended up getting a really nice win over Nurdiev, man. He looked good in that fight. He's a very, very fun and very underrated fighter, and I am very excited for this matchup on both ends. I've always liked Jung Young Park, man, and I'd really like to see him get the job done here. Nothing against Ikram Aliskerov. I feel like I always have to clarify that because a lot of people just assume that you hate any Dagestani fighter. I love their style. I think Ikram Aliskerov is very exciting. I just personally really like Jung Young Park. This one's a little bit tough, okay? Because I feel like I have to pick Ikram Aliskerov based on the work that he's had right now. The guy looks like he's had it all. He has that Sambo game to back it up. He's very well-rounded. But man, does Jung Young make it difficult for you to get any sort of position on him. He's going to make Ikram Aliskerov work. I'm telling you right now, if Ikram Aliskerov comes in and makes this fight look easy, he's going to be a problem. Because nobody does that to Jung Young. Like, he's beatable, but he makes it hell for you to go through. I'm going to slightly go to Ikram Aliskerov in that bout. I'm going to pick him to win this fight. I feel like I can't not pick the Khabib guy against Jung Young. I feel like I can't. But he is a very, very promising fighter. Has a promising future. 16-2. He's been looking good, man. Just had that one hiccup recently, okay? I'm going to pick Ikram Aliskerov in another low-confidence pick, but let's see what the odds are. As expected, Ikram Aliskerov is sitting at an average odds of -281 favorite. I wouldn't have expected any less. These guys are typically the favorites in bouts. But again, I'm going to pick Ikram Aliskerov. I really hope I'm wrong, though. I really, really want Jung Young to get the job done here. All right, guys, let's move on to the next fight, though. A fight that I'm not so sure if this is even going to be on the card by the time you're listening to me talk about it. It's going to be Chris Beast Boy Barnett taking on Hamdi Abdel Wahab. Excuse me, I always mispronounce his name. Abdel Wahab. Sorry about that. I hate mispronouncing all these names, guys, because I feel like it makes me look like I don't know what I'm talking about. But I do know what I'm talking about. I'm very good at analyzing fights. But anyways, let's break these guys down, starting with Chris Barnett over here, okay? Chris Barnett is a very strange fighter to break down, I will say. He's a guy who has good power at heavyweight, and somehow, for a man his size and a man his age, he has surprisingly good movement and speed inside the octagon. And now, like I said, Chris is somebody who is a little bit strange to talk about because he's had a handful of cancellations. He's also been injured, and at 39 years old, over 39 years old, and relatively unhealthy, you have to wonder how any of that is going to end up affecting his return to the octagon. Quite frankly, I have no faith, but by the time that you're watching this video, this fight might be just completely scratched and off the card because Chris ended up canceling again. Maybe it's why Valter Walker's here. But man, he's been a win-lose type of fighter. Most recently getting destroyed by Kennedy Nzechukwu. Even that fight he took on Kennedy and was over like a year ago. He's got some work to do, and he's got a tough fight ahead of him, that's for sure. And yeah, I was about to start dogging on this guy right away, but we'll talk about it, okay? Hamdi Abdel Wahab, he is an Olympic wrestler turned to MMA, okay? He is a powerful striker. He's a powerful wrestler. He has good takedowns, and he has decent control if he happens to manage to get the fight into that position. The problem is, he just straight up, won't always shoot for his takedowns. He can be low volume, he can be sloppy, but when he does shoot, though, or when he does come on, he is a very powerful guy, especially. He can throw some light kicks out there, too. And unfortunately, he also leaves his mouth wide open and fades as the fight goes on and doesn't listen to his corner. Now, we've seen him a few times now in his young MMA career being 4-1 now, and unfortunately hasn't been all that impressive, okay? The Jamal Pogues fight, was a horrible robbery where he was just inactive, and he most recently lost to Muhammad Usman, losing 2 of the 3 rounds straight up losing them. Again, nothing impressive. he's not a useless heavyweight. I don't mean to dog on him too much, like typically we see in the division, but he's also not good at all. But he still is in his prime. He's a big guy, and he might be fighting an easier opponent depending on which version of Chris Barnett shows up. And I feel like that's the story of this fight, honestly, because what version of Chris Barnett are we going to get here? Is it going to be someone full of injuries? Is it going to be someone who finally looks 39? Because he shouldn't be moving as well as he moves in his fights typically. Chris Barnett is, he looks like, worse than your typical heavyweight. But I will say I do like Chris Barnett, and I really hope that Chris Barnett gets the job done. But I can't put stock in him. There's too many questions for Chris Barnett. For that reason, I'm going to pick Hamdi Al-Delwahab to get the job done. I think the Hammer is a little bit on the more untalented side when it comes to the heavyweight division. But I think I think it's more likely that he wins against Chris Barnett. But who knows? Chris Barnett's a weird guy. He might be able to show up, look athletic, just dance on him. Chris Barnett's sitting at a big underdog over here at plus 294. Hamdi Al-Delwahab is sitting at minus 398. That is not worth the price at all. 100%. I'd stay away from this fight completely for betting purposes, but again, I'm going to pick Hamdi Al-Delwahab to get the job done. All right, guys, let's continue on up the card to a banger of a fight over here. We have Azat Maxim returning to take on Mitch Rapso, two fighters that I'm excited to break down. Let's break them down for you over here, starting with Azat Maxim, and he is a very complete fighter with great technique in all aspects of MMA. He can literally bring everything to the table and compete at the highest levels, in my opinion, okay? His defensive wrestling, his clinch game, and his reversals are also phenomenal. He showed that especially in his last fight. He has a great cardio. He has a good chin. He has good heart, too. And now I know you might be saying, okay, why are you glazing a guy who has lost 2 of his 3 UFC fights? Because I know what I've watched, and he is shown to be a very, very great fighter in this division. Losing to Charles Johnson is nothing to be ashamed about, and he lost just to Tagir Ulanbekov recently on short notice, I will say, and that fight was still a phenomenal technical war, and it was a very close fight. I actually personally thought that he won that fight, but it was close enough to not complain about. I have really, really liked what I've seen from Azat Maxim so far in his MMA career so far. He's in his prime. He's looking to bounce back with a big win in this fight. And I hope he gets the job done, man, because it's a little bit unfortunate what's happened in his past couple fights. He's a very, very, very skilled fighter. But let's talk about Mitch Rapso. Mitch Rapso, he's a great boxer with, unfortunately, a little bit of a hole in his grappling game. His takedowns are okay, but he really struggles with control. And this is, again, great matchmaking by the UFC here because he is also on a 2-fight skid in the UFC. He unfortunately lost to Sumidarji, where not exactly a ton happened in that bout. He didn't look good, but prior to that, he also lost to Andre Lima, which is definitely, in my opinion, an acceptable loss to have. But Mitch Rapso, he's only 27, just turned 27. He's going to enter his prime too, and he definitely has more to prove in this bout over here. And this is a little bit of a easier pick, in my opinion. I like Azat Maxim a lot in this matchup. I'm just flat out more impressed with him. I wholeheartedly believe him to be top 10 level in the flyweight division, hands down. I think that he might, I don't even think saying top 5 is a stretch, okay? I think that he's going to have more options to win this fight. If this fight happens to remain on the feet, I think he'll do better than Mitch Rapso in the boxing, and I think he also has those options to explore the ground game. I like Azat Maxim a lot in this fight, and I think he's going to get the job done over Mitch Rapso. Plus, he's going to have a big reach advantage, which I didn't even notice until I looked it up on Tapology over here, okay? Azat Maxim sitting at a big favorite over here, so I guess the odds makers are in agreement with me. I like him a lot in this matchup. Azat Maxim, I don't know about at that price, but that's something that I would consider playing. Azat Maxim is a very confident pick of mine, but let's continue on to the main card shortly, guys. Now, as you know with these videos, I talk a lot about betting. If you guys are interested in either supporting the channel or seeing what I'm doing with my own money, maybe if you want to combine my fight knowledge with your own research, then you can check out the channel membership in the pinned comment description down below or right next to the subscribe button. Every single Friday or Saturday, and this is very cheap compared to other channels, by the way, I'll be posting a community members post along with a members only video explaining exactly what I'm doing with my money each week. I am primarily a UFC bettor. I'll always have something out for UFC, but we do like to dive into other organizations as well. So again, if you're either interested in supporting the channel or combining my fight knowledge with your own research, then check out that channel membership. Again, very cheap compared to other channels. Additionally, if you'd like to sign up to OddsJam is a partner of the channel. You can check out OddsJam in the pinned comment description down below using code CLENBAT. You can get a discount signing up to OddsJam. Phenomenal if you have multiple sports books, guys. I love OddsJam as a site. Thank you so much for listening. Let's get into this main card. All right, guys, let's talk about this main card. And every single fight besides maybe the co-main event is a phenomenal fight. And guys, this fight on the card is the fight that I am looking forward to most about the entire thing. I like both guys. I love watching both guys, and it's a shame that somebody has to lose this fight, okay? Umar Nurmagomedov taking on Mario Batista. Let's break down Umar first, okay? Umar Nurmagomedov is a combat sambo world champion. He is an extremely, extremely well-rounded fighter. He also has that, typical Dagestani sambo wrestling along with a nice stand-up game. He really excels on the feet with his kicks. He does a really good job at range, so he doesn't always need to, with sometimes you see with the Dagestani fighters, need to dive in for his opponent's legs. He also has 5 rounds of high pace, but not Marab pace cardio. He's 18-1 in MMA right now and coming off of an MMA defeat to arguably the greatest fighter of all time. We just made a video talking about that in Marab Dvalishvili. It was a very close fight. I personally thought that he won 3-2, and I usually get pushback when I say that, so I will say, no, I have not rewatched that fight, but I was paying close attention the first time, and I know that most people are not in agreement with me there, so it's maybe I do need to rewatch it. Regardless, having that close of a performance against Marab proves that he is literally one of the best guys to ever do it, okay? Prior to that, he's had some really great performances against some really, really great fighters, and even beat Corey Sandhagen, which we also just found out too, or we always knew that he was one of the best bantamweights to ever do it. Umar Nurmagomedov just entered his prime. He's been looking insanely good in the octagon, and I am excited to see what he does here. There is one more thing, though, that I did want to mention, and he's coming off of likely having a broken hand, okay? He was talking about it after the Marab loss, and I personally never followed up on it. And the hand did look broken, but I'm not sure if we ended up having any confirmation on that. People were saying he was just making excuses, which is always possible, too. Regardless, if you're someone who likes to bet, keep in mind that things could happen, like his hand might break again, and he might not, have been able to ease himself back into training, things like that. It's possible because of that a slightly worse version of Umar Nurmagomedov shows up in the octagon, but I wouldn't really assume that would be the case, though, because typically the Khabib guys aren't afraid to pull out of a bout, for a stub toe, I will say. But let's talk about Mario Batista, okay? Mario Batista is an incredible striker with great pressure and pace. He has good movement. He has really good fight IQ. He has heart. He has cardio, and he has technique behind everything that he throws. He also does just straight up have a good all-round game, though, okay? The guy isn't just a striker. He also never stops moving, never stops throwing shots, and because of that, he does a really good job in the octagon making opponents uncomfortable. And Mario Batista, guys, Mario Batista has been flying absolutely under the radar for a lot of MMA fans. A lot of people, you might be one of them watching this video, just hated him after watching one round of the Jose Aldo bout. But he is, in my opinion, a championship caliber fighter. The skills are there. He beat Ricky Simone, Damon Blackshear, and now he beat Patchy Mix, which, unfortunately, that hasn't aged all that well. But the other two have. But his other wins have been phenomenal in general, okay? And he seems to be getting better in that octagon. He seems super motivated. He's still in his prime. And I like Umar, guys. I really, but I like Umar. I do, okay? But I really, really hope that Mario gets a job done here. The guy's such an underrated, unproblematic, fun fighter. Besides literally one round, he's been absolute nothing but a pleasure to watch in that octagon. And he's not boring. He usually has fun fights. So I hope he keeps this momentum. I hope that he wins another fight afterwards. And I hope that he's the one guy to dethrone Marab Dvalishvili. Mario Batista is a pleasure to watch, and he always has been, besides one performance. But this is a tough test. It's a tough test in front of him. I think that he's very underrated, and I think that he is certainly capable of beating Umar Nurmagomedov. But I have to go with Umar Nurmagomedov. I want Mario Batista to win. I hope he wins. I'm going to be sitting down. I'm going to be cheering for this guy. He is so underappreciated in the sport of MMA, man. I can't see him getting past Umar. Umar has that well-roundedness. Umar has that pace, and Umar, in my opinion, beat the champion of the division. Not only the champion, the greatest fighter of all time right now, Marab Dvalishvili, the pound-for-pound number one. Even if you didn't think that he won that fight, he showed that he's certainly capable of doing so. I can't not pick him. So Umar is going to be my pick. I'm not counting out Mario Batista. I'm kind of like 75-25 on this one. It wouldn't shock me if Mario Batista just defended the takedowns and outstruck him. Plus, you have to worry about the hand for Umar coming back into the octagon. Maybe he'll have his confidence hit too. Guys taking their first loss. Some things to think about. I hope Mario wins, but I'm picking Umar Nurmagomedov to win, okay? Let's see what the odds are over here. And Umar Nurmagomedov is set at a minus 472 favorite. How can you not? The guy's a phenomenal fighter, man. We also have round lines over here, okay? Over 2.5 at minus 200. I can definitely see it going over 2.5. I wonder what the 1.5 would be. If you guys don't know, if you guys are brand new to the channel over here, I'm a big fan of betting over 1.5s. So, while again, I hope Mario Batista gets the job done, Umar Nurmagomedov is going to be my pick. Let's talk about the next banger on the card, though, guys. Let's talk about Alexander Rakic taking on Azamat, the professional Mirzakhanov. Very fun fight. Very good fight by the UFC. And we'll talk about Alexander Rakic, who is a well-rounded fighter who, on the feet, he does a very good job using his size, his length, and his reach very well, okay? He has good pressure. He has good power. He does a good job mixing up his kicking attacks. With all of that, he also does have a ground game to back all of that up. Now, guys, if you've been following the channel, okay, you might have previously heard me gas this guy up beyond belief. I always thought that Alexander Rakic was a great fighter, okay? I think that he is a top-level light heavyweight fighter. I'm worried that a little bit I've been wrong this entire time since his last fight, but I still don't think I'm wrong. That's the thing. I think he's an excellent fighter. It's just the performance against Magomed Ankalaev is making me finally second-guess myself a little bit. He just unfortunately had a super disappointing performance against Ankalaev. He was inactive, he backed up all the time, and I know that happens, but he just didn't look good. I don't know if it was Magomed's presence or pressure in there, or if it was a small skill gap, or if it was him just having an off night. I have no idea. He just didn't fight like himself. Prior to that, though, he also lost to Yuri Prochazka at UFC 300, and guys, he was murdering Yuri for 2 rounds until he got caught and finished in that bout. And before that, he was handily beating Jan Blachowicz before he ended up, taking that knee injury. You know what? Like, I don't know why I'm second guessing myself, guys. The guy's a phenomenal fighter in my opinion. Very underrated. And one bad performance against a former champion, which a lot of people, a lot of fighters end up looking like that against Magomed Ankalaev. Yeah, ignore everything I just said. Before the Jan fight, he also just killed all of his opponents, outskilled them. But there isn't much to write home about, unfortunately, about those wins. I hope he wins here, though, guys, because he's really fun to watch. He still has a lot to give to the sport. He's still in his prime, and he needs to get it a win in, and he needs to get that activity going in here. I hope that he gets a job done this fight. Sorry, I was second-guessing myself that entire time. He's not overrated. He's a good fighter. You know what I mean. I was doing it, okay? But Azamat Mirzakhanov, on the other hand, he's been picking up a little bit of steam himself, and he has a tough outing here, and this will prove a lot against Alexander Rakic of where his level is. He's one of those smaller guys for the division. He's a fast striker, he has good power, he has a variety of shots, and he has really good combinations in there, along with a solid wrestling top game. Typically, though, the guy likes to come in, he prefers to strike. He's 36 years old now, father time still hasn't caught up with him yet, and he's been rolling through these fights, man. He's been looking good, he's 15-0, he's been looking crisp, and he's been getting the job done with all of his fights. Unfortunately, though, the quality of opponents could be a lot better. But I feel like that we've seen enough skills from Azamat Mirzakhanov to say that he's a solid fighter. Beating Dustin Jacoby's a nice feather in his cap, but not much stands out, to be honest with you. One more thing I did want to mention about him, though, is he is going to have a massive reach disadvantage here, and that should matter in this bout with both guys liking to use their reach, and Alexander Rakic being somebody who really takes advantage of that, okay? Guys, I still think that Rakic is a phenomenal fighter. Unfortunately, I do see a world where he ends up getting chinned, ends up getting hurt, and ends up getting finished, but I don't think that should happen. I'm like an 80% confidence level for Alexander Rakic. I think that he's more well-rounded. I think that he's going to use his reach. I think that he is an excellent fighter despite being on a 3-fight skid. And he was winning he was winning 2 of those 3 bouts very, very well. It's just unfortunate we haven't seen him as active, man. I always thought that he was going to come in, he had championship potential. He does have championship potential. He's a great fighter. I'm picking him to win. I think that he's going to be better everywhere in the MMA space against Azamat Mirzakhanov. I don't think that Azamat has anything for him. He might be able to catch him if he wins. But what should happen is Alexander Rakic winning the fight. He's going to be my pick. I hope he wins. He's very underappreciated. Let's see what OddsJam has to say about this. OddsJam has to pick him. I understand. I understand that I have been gassing up a lot Alexander Rakic compared to a lot of other people in the YouTube space and just MMA fans in general. I just think he's very underrated. So I get that. Actually, that's a play I don't mind playing. But I got burned both times with him. I bet on him to beat Yuri Prochazka. I said that he's going to just destroy Yuri, but Yuri ended up outwilling him. And then I thought that he was going to outskill Magomed Ankalaev, but the pressure got to him. So I probably shouldn't play this, because while I am somebody who typically does very well with the betting, I actually got burned in the last 2 times against Alexander Rakic. Anyways, let's see what the odds are over here for over 2.5. I don't mind an under, to be honest with you. I don't mind it, but that's not something that I would play. I'm second guessing myself again. Alexander Rakic is going to be my pick. Again, I hope that he wins this fight. But guys, before we talk about the featured bout, let me stop you just one more time. As you might know, I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. We upload daily commentary videos just like this one. If you happen to like me, if you happen to enjoy me, my personality, you want to hear my commentary on anything else, we have our toes dipped into so many niches on YouTube. We have channels for gaming, Fortnite. We have movie review shows channel, anime show. We have a variety channel where we talk about anything that's been going on the internet. Feel free to check any of them out at the top of the description with the link tree, as well as direct links to those YouTube channels in the description down below. We've been seeing a lot of bleed over, and it's been very, very fun to see. It's cool to see people like, it's cool to see some passionate MMA fans coming over to another stream, I love it, man. Thank you so much for listening. Let's talk about the featured bout. All right, guys, let's move on to the featured fight over here, and that is Alexander Volkov coming in fresh off of a robbery loss over against Jailton Almeida. The guy should be the guy fighting in the main event, but let's break down these two, okay? Alexander Volkov. He is pretty simple to break down. He's a good striker he uses for good fight IQ in the octagon. He's very tall and long, and he also has good durability. And he's been adding in more groundwork into his game as time has gone on. Now, if you guys have been paying attention, like I just mentioned, a lot of us might agree that Alexander Volkov should be the person facing Tom Aspinall in the main event. He is coming off of a loss to Ciryl Gane, and that was a absolutely horrible robbery. He flat out in that fight outworked Gane in that bout, and it's criminal that he has to take a step back here, okay? Before that, he went on a very nice win streak. At 37 years old, he's still improving to this day. He handily beat Sergey Pavlovich, and he's been through the best heavyweight contenders for the most part, like over the years, I just hope that his motivation is still intact, because after what happened in that previous fight, it might just, demoralize anybody, taking that big of a step back and being robbed like that. But let's talk about Jailton Almeida, okay? Jailton Almeida is a strong grappler who will do anything to just dive at your legs and drag the fight to the ground. His hands are improving a little bit. He carries some power for the division, but he's also pretty simple to break down, to be honest. He's 34 years old. Father Time hasn't nearly caught up with him either, but to be honest, we also haven't, seen him push a crazy pace or anything like that either. So how good is his cardio in the heavyweight division? Who knows? Maybe we'll be surprised. And since moving up to heavyweight, besides losing to Curtis Blades, which people don't talk about, he is one of the best fighters in the division. He still looked good. He comes in, he has simple game plans, and he has good executions on those game plans. And no doubt, he's going to be looking to do the same thing against Volkov over here. So, here's the thing. When you have a guy like Jailton Almeida, a shorter guy, taking on a tall guy like Alexander Volkov, of course it's going to be easier for him to fall over, and that's going to be the game plan. Can Jailton Almeida take down Alexander Volkov? If he can, he's going to win. If he cannot, Alexander Volkov is going to murder Jailton Almeida. I don't know which is going to happen. I'm more inclined to believe that Alexander Volkov will stuff Jailton Almeida's takedowns. He is a big, massive guy, used to fighting guys that are probably stronger than Jailton Almeida. But Jailton Almeida, he's built, man. He's looking good. And shockingly, Alexander Volkov doesn't have a big reach advantage over him. I'm going to pick Volkov, man. I think he's a very underrated heavyweight. I think he's one of the best heavyweights in the world. He should be in this title fight against Tom Aspinall. And I'm still not convinced of Jailton Almeida. He's a good heavyweight, but he's been beating, people that really mean nothing. I see a world where Volkov just kind of stuffs the takedowns and beats him to death, kind of like Curtis Blades. It's going to be interesting. It can go either way. I'm definitely not going to be betting on this fight. I'm going to pick Alexander Volkov at a moderate level of confidence. Let's see what the odds are over here. I would imagine Jailton Almeida is a favorite. That's what I would have assumed. Jailton Almeida at this point sit at a minus 166 favorite. And let's see what the odds are over here. For over 1.5 we got. Minus 222. I don't like round lines for that one. It's a little unpredictable in my opinion, but I'm going to pick Alexander Volkov. I hope Alexander Volkov wins after that horrible robbery. The dude needs a title fight at this point. Now let's talk about the co-main event. The next fight taken over for Weili Zhang. It's Virna Jandiroba taking on Mackenzie Dern. This is for a brand new strawweight title fight. Two fighters that would get murdered by Weili Zhang. Coming in and taking on each other, okay? We'll start by breaking down Virna Jandiroba first. Virna Jandiroba, she's a come-forward fighter who just wants to get her opponents to the ground, work from there. She's pretty durable in general. She does a good job eating shots to get close to you. She's 22-3 now in her MMA career, and she's also been looking really good despite being 37 years old. I always forget that she's 37 years old. She's been decently active, and she's been going through, the main contenders of the division, girls like Marina Rodriguez, Lupa Godinez, Amanda Lemos, and Most surprisingly, she shocked me in beating Yan Jianan. I thought that she was going to lose that fight, but she proved otherwise. She typically wins by imposing her grappling game plan, and she will probably be looking to do the same thing here against Mackenzie Dern, but sometimes when you have these two grapplers going against each other, they cancel it out, and they stay on the feet. Well, let's talk about Mackenzie Dern a little bit, okay? You guys might get a little bit mad at me. Mackenzie Dern, she's a good BJJ fighter, slightly overrated BJJ, but has very poor stand-up. Her takedowns, striking, and aggression have been improving, but there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. And now, while I did just say, like, her stand-up sucks, and she's been improving, I still think she's been overrated, okay? I think that we have been seeing slight improvements in her skill set. She looked good in her most recent 2 bouts against both Lupita Godinez and Amanda Ribas in their fights. She's been working on the double leg, she's been working on the takedowns, and she's not just missing every single punch that she throws now. But like I said, I still think she's overrated. And I think she could have lost that fight to Lupita Godinez, by the way. I just know a lot of MMA fans think that she's think that she's hot and excuses all of her bad technique. And I know I'm going to hear about that one in the comments. I know. The one thing I will say about Mackenzie Dern, though, is she's a little bit more violent than you typically see in a woman. Usually, like, I think she's more violent than Virna Jandiroba, and if you were to look at these two, you would say Virna Jandiroba is probably the violent one. Mackenzie Dern can scrap. Mackenzie Dern tries to hurt people. Post-divorce Dern, like we're talking about Ilia Topuria. I don't know who's going to win this fight, man. I got it. Now, you know what? Ooh, I was about to say, I'm picking Virna Jandiroba by my rule of, like, just looking at them. Plus, she has been having better performances. No, I gotta pick Virna Jandiroba, man. I'm just thinking, like, if Mackenzie Dern doesn't absolutely get destroyed, they'll give her the belt. She's promotable. They want her as champion. They do not want Virna Jandiroba as champion. So I'm thinking they might just rob the hell out of her, even if she wins 5 straight rounds. I could very well see that happening. I'm going to pick her, though. I didn't know who's going to pick. I'm going to pick Virna Jandiroba to get the job done. I think she's a better fighter. I just see a world where she gets robbed. Let's see what Odds Jim has to say over here. Excuse me about that, guys. Sorry. Pick him. Mackenzie Dern, Virna Jandiroba. I understand that. I would never dispute that. Not a fight that I would like to bet on. Over 3.5 rounds. I don't mind a round line because I would struggle to see both girls finishing each other. This might be a stand-up fight because both girls are going to come in probably with a primarily grappling game plan. And we've seen it a lot of times where they just cancel each other out. It's going to be a fun fight. Not really. But guys, with that, let's get on to the main event of the evening. We have Tom Aspinall finally defending his belt against Ciryl Gane. Well, I mean, like, finally fighting. I'm excited for this, man. Let's talk about Tom Aspinall first. We'll talk about Tom Aspinall, okay? Tom Aspinall, he is a well-rounded heavyweight who seems to have it all in the octagon. But we still do have one question about the skill set. Does Tom Aspinall have good cardio? And we still don't know because, like, we don't even know this far into his career because he just comes in and he kills guys for the most part. He is super heavy-handed. He's extremely light on his feet and extremely athletic for a heavyweight fighter, like a well-built heavyweight fighter. He's just a really big, well-adjusted heavyweight, and you don't see this often in the UFC, the body types like Tom Aspinall. And guys, throughout this breakdown, this is the part where I typically talk about some of the fights that he's had, but look at his record, man. What is there to say? Like, he comes in and he kills people, okay? He comes in, he knocks them out. Some last a little longer than others, but they all come to the same conclusion in the octagon with Tom Aspinall. And I know that he's champion, guys, okay? I know that, and don't get me wrong with what I'm about to say to you guys right here. He is a very, very, very good heavyweight, and he's the champion. And there is no doubt at this point now, he is the best in the division, okay? But I'm just not sold on him yet. You know, being compared to the likes of Stipe Miocic and guys like Cain Velasquez, well, maybe not Cain specifically, but you get the comparisons to like the older heavyweights. People talk like he's one of the best heavyweights to ever do it. I'm not sold on that part yet, okay? I need to see him go 5 rounds. And I need to see him show that he has a granite chin because that chin when he fights is so high up in the air that he's just waiting to get caught. And that very well could happen here. Cyryl's a sniper. Regardless, though, he's been nothing but impressive so far in the UFC. I'm just saying him, like, I do not believe Tom Aspinall to be the lock that people are, like, claiming him to be, okay? I will say, though, that I absolutely hope that he wins this fight. After what he's had to suffer the past couple years with how both the UFC and John Jones was being allowed to treat him, it's just, it's so beyond ridiculous. They wasted well over a year of his prime, and he's 32 now coming into this fight. Honestly, guys, that's another thing to take into consideration here. He's been very inactive. If you're a betting man, issues always come about with things like that. He's almost 33 years old now, too. You never know. You never know. But he's probably motivated. He's probably going to want to put a statement on against Ciryl Gane. But speaking of Ciryl Gane, okay? Ciryl Gane is a strong striker who technically is miles ahead of the majority of the division. On the feet, he's fantastic. He has good movement. He has good cardio. He has a very nice diversity of shots. He has good power behind his hands. The only problem with Ciryl is that he has a little bit of a hole in his grappling, but that grappling game is improving slightly, okay? And a lot of people have been questioning his motivation in recent times because Ciryl Gane at this point in his life, he's made money. He's become an actor. He doesn't, need to fight at this point. And while I personally have no clue how much money that Ciryl Gane has been making, I definitely think that it's something that you should look into and something that you should take into consideration if you are, considering gambling or if you're a betting man just looking to put a little something on this fight, an underdog maybe, okay? Motivation and the drive to feed your family is something that carries you through the deep waters of this sport. And I know one thing's for sure, that in this fight, Tom Aspinall will have that energy. But will Ciryl? I might have to find myself agreeing with the MMA fan base on this one. But anyways, guys, as we spoke about with Ciryl Gane, he is lucky to be in this fight because he got a ridiculous robbery victory over Alexander Volkov in his last fight. And throughout his career, he is picked apart and he's starched, the lower level guys of the division. It was just that one fight. On top of that, he barely lost to Francis Ngannou and weirdly lost a fight right away to John Jones. He's 35 years old now, going on 36. He has exited his prime, and he will have a slight reach advantage over here, and he might be able to take advantage of that with Tom Aspinall, especially with Tom, fighting like this in the octagon, okay? This is a very interesting bout, okay? When I'm looking at these guys, I think that Tom Aspinall is going to either knock out Ciryl Gane, or Tom Aspinall is going to dive at the feet, and Tom Aspinall is going to have a clear path to victory. I could see that, okay? I get the skill sets there, but I can't shake this feeling that the good fairy tale ending stories don't happen in MMA. And I know this isn't like a fairy tale ending, but I'm talking like Tom's finally here. He has the belt. He's finally going to get to defend the belt and solidify himself as the champion of the world. Stories like that don't usually go well for fighters. So my gut's saying, be careful, Tom Aspinall. And honestly, Ciryl has power. Tom fights like this. I do not believe Tom Aspinall to be the lock that everybody else is talking about him to be. But I do think that he's going to win this fight. He's more dangerous. He's going to be more motivated. He's still fighting, like I said, that he's really motivated to take care of his family. He wants to solidify himself as a champion. He still has a lot to prove. He's still hungry as a champion. He's going to have the options. He's probably going to be smart. He's probably going to go for the takedown. And I would imagine he finds a submission over here. Tom Aspinall is going to be my pick. I hope he wins. It's got to be Tom time at this point, man. Let's see how big, I was about to say, let's see how big of a favorite he is. The average odds of -415. Understandable for Tom Aspinall, 100%. Over 1.5 and under 1.5 a pick 'em. I could see both those happening. There's not a lot of round lines that I like this time around, guys. Maybe like Mario Batista, but I don't remember what round line that was, if there even is one. But yeah, Tom Aspinall's going to be my pick. I would imagine most people are picking him, but be careful, okay? Be careful. And speaking of being careful, guys, why don't you check out this video on screen? YouTube thinks that you will like this video the best. I would love to have you over there. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, everybody.